Welcome back to day one of Champions Seoul and our second match in the group of death. It's China's FPX versus EMEA's Team Heretics. Of course, I'm Golden Boy, currently yelling at you right now on the desk with Mimi and Paperthin. As always, we're going to break everything down and talk about what we saw, but boy, oh boy.
That
Genji.
stream on the screen.
Huh?
The stream
Didn't
that
you
was
go
on
there?
the screen. I went there.
It's so
really
sick.
nice. It used to be a highway until 2003.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now it's a stream again. It's awesome.
We got to do some book reading on,
Yeah,
on
it's
the
a great
stream.
park. I read a book for an hour there.
Yeah.
A very popular date
recommend.
spot. Very popular date
Oh,
spot.
really?
Yep.
Oh,
It makes
that's cool.
sense. It's
Yeah.
it's lovely for a stroll.
Oh, yeah.
gorgeous.
But we
Yeah.
have more important things to
That's
talk
true.
about.
But that being said, though, I want to be very clear here. This city is freaking awesome, okay? And Seoul is genuinely one of the greatest cities in the world. Unbelievable place. But let's go ahead, though, and talk about another city that we were in this year, Madrid, because we're about to see another rematch, except this time it's going to be a Shanghai rematch.
Third
and I
city
totally
there.
messed that one up. So we got 3 cities on this one. Homies all over the place.
Shanghai,
Chat.
another great city. And this match was... It was great to watch, but this was a heartbreaker for FPX because this was the event where FPX was the best we've ever seen them. People had high expectations for this team after watching their first game where they beat Foot, and then they have 2 super close losses. And in this one, it was 17-15. So many overtimes on that last one for them to be eliminated by this Team Heretics squad who went on to the finals.
Yeah, and they do really interesting stuff. They use a lot of controllers compared to a lot of other teams. Like, it's not just 2 controllers on some maps. Sometimes it's up to 3, like on Lotus, which we might see here today, who knows, but they're really creative with how they play around it in terms of wanting to kind of control the map in terms of information. They want to obscure what they're doing. They want to try to bait some util out of you. They want to see if they can get some extra advantages in those regards, but they do struggle against really patient teams. Teams that don't kind of expend their utility unnecessarily, don't give them any information unnecessarily, so that does kind of bite them in the butt in the long run.
If your structure can hold up to the insane individuals and the unique ideas, then you can beat this team. But for me, they are the litmus test of how good your structure actually is. Because they're so insanely disruptive. But what's crazy is that after that kind of, I want to say run, but it wasn't really a run in actuality, they went back to Shanghai for VCT CN instead of Masters, and it was a huge dip. They went 2 for 6 in the group stage, and it looked rough. They were losing to teams you would never expect them to lose to. The team honestly looked kind of boomed. They looked so different than the confident, creative team we saw in Shanghai, but they did recover at the right time.
Yeah, they got to the finals, right? They played EDG in a best of 5. They lost it in 5 maps. They really started to kind of find their groove again, find their form. Abyss, like we just saw on the screen there, was a really good map for them. Life on that Yoru is really challenging to deal with because he's really creative with where he puts those TPs. Like sometimes, they'll go deep and he'll try to come behind you, things like that, but he'll also put them short just to like cross a 50-50 on you when he's in a post plan or something like that. So he's really difficult to keep track of.
Yeah, a lot of really unique ideas that we continuously see from FPX. But to go back to something that Mimi was talking about real fast and how this team really just struggled going into stage 2.
Yeah.
Very shocking considering how they started this season.
Yeah, look at the contrast to stage 1. They were undefeated. The only series they lost in stage 1 of VCT CN was the finals to EDG. Which is so different from what we saw now. But I think the biggest question is, in this group, which is so difficult with all 3 of the Masters finalists, even if they hit that Madrid form, or excuse me, that Shanghai form, is it enough? Because this is a really tough place to get out of.
Yeah, it's so difficult because you're going into the shark pit once, and then you go into the shark pit again, and then you potentially go into it again. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem to get any better than what you can expect there for FPX. But there are some things that they can lean on here, right? I mean, I think, it goes without saying, FPX still a great team, as we talked about, great aimers, right? But they can also catch their opponent off guard with some uniqueness on Abyss, especially, right? New map coming into the pool, big opportunity here for the Chinese team to really catch their opponents in an uncomfortable position and maybe profit off of it.
Yeah, it has not been a ban that the Heretics have prioritized since Abyss came into the map pool. They've been going for like a center Lotus kind of as those main bans that they want to go for. So I expect this map to be open, and I expect FPX to pick it. This is a great example right here of some of these moments where life is just an absolute nightmare, either on the retake or on the post plant. He's so good in so many different situations, and they're the way that they set up, and then they TP across, right? Like they use a smoke to obscure these extra angles. They're so creative in like heat of the moment situations. We saw this in Shanghai too.
Hey, and this is something that we were talking about at the start of the day, right? Who has that good read on Abyss? And now, don't get me wrong, these aren't necessarily reads. These are like just really smart and intelligent plays, but that's something you could build upon, right?
Absolutely, and I do really like their comp on Abyss. I think that the ideas they have around the Yoru are really creative. A lot of teams will pick into the Yoru as kind of a solo duelist nowadays because he fills the dive slot and also the flash slot, so it gives you a lot of flexibility. But I think what really shines for them isn't necessarily like the attack side dive plays, it's how they play the defense, how they're using the Yoru TPs to have fast rotates and reinforce these anchors, and how good their fast retakes are with the combination of the Yoru flashes, the Fade utility. It's honestly really well put together. And that's the definition of FPX. Creative comps executed really well.
Yeah, I really hope we get to see Abyss today. It will be super exciting, to say the least. But for now, though, let's send it back over to Mika Fabs, who caught up with Life for a quick word.
Hey Live! Oh, you look so cool today. So FPX is in what many consider the group of death. So I'm wondering, do you think FPX are underdogs, and how does FPX compare to the rest of the teams? We have Luna here to help with some translation.
那很多人都会觉得你们现在所在的小组是一个死亡之组，那你觉得你们是一匹黑马吗？你相比于其他的队伍会怎么样来评价和描述你们自己呢？
其实我希望其他战队也这样看我们，这样会对我们掉以轻心，我们会比我们上一次更强的姿态迎接这一次比赛，所以说 TH 你们要小心了。
Maybe if other teams like consider us as the underdogs, maybe we can do something unpredictable, then we can perform better. Maybe TH, watch out.
Oh, I like that. Good luck to you guys.
All right, strong words there from Life, but let's highlight what this guy is capable of, because, I mean, when he gets those moments to pop off, it is very fun to watch, Paper Thin.
No, he's mechanically gifted. He can really take over rounds, win rounds that he has no business winning. He's such a talented player. Now, he does get a little bit off kilter at times. When I go through and watch the FPX VODs, like as good as he can be, he can also kind of leave you scratching your head.
High highs, low lows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this team style takes a lot of risks. I think that even compared to some of the other CN teams, they're very willing to overpeak, to go for individual fights. And I think one of the biggest reasons for their stage 2 slump regionally was that the confidence was waning. They weren't actually getting success through a lot of those risky plays, and I think that then snowballs. Your confidence drops, you play a little differently, you take risks to try and be a hero. It doesn't work out. But if they can come in and show what they did in playoffs with the confidence, with the risk-taking, and find that success, that's, I think, the kind of condition for FPX to show the form that they had at Masters Shanghai.
Yeah, you always like to see a team to try to carve out their own identity in their own unique way, rather than just conform, right? And that is
they're not like the other girls.
God dang it, Mimi.
They aren't.
You're true. You know what?
Yeah.
Base. Now, of course, Team Heretics on the other side. This is a squad that, going into Shanghai, we were a little worried about. They had lost one of their big key players here in MiniBoo. Patatek was coming back in, obviously the most versatile 6-man in the world. But this time around, in Shanghai, the success was flowing. I mean, they were doing everything that they possibly could. They finished 3rd in EMEA. They had such an amazing run in Shanghai. This team is dynamic, and now they have their whole roster here, Paper Thin. Could it be the difference?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not super convinced. It felt like they were a little bit rocky during stage 2.
Yeah.
It felt like kind of like they came off of that high of Shanghai. They couldn't quite replicate the exact level of success, because it felt like at Shanghai, it just, as they went, they just got stronger and stronger and stronger throughout the tournament. They started streaking.
They're like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, like literally, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they just kept streaking these crazy rounds together. Woot was dominating on the duelist. All these things were looking amazing, and I'm like, this team is like maybe going to win EMEA. We're going to be coming into, potentially champions, thinking about, is it going to be another rematch in the finals of Heretics versus Gen G? But they haven't quite looked the same. It just like they haven't found that same form. MiniBoo coming back on the Neon hasn't seemingly had the same amount of impact, I feel.
To me, I feel like a lot of it can honestly be kind of put up to the same burnout that I think to some extent we saw from FPX, where you're coming back after showing so much and having to reintegrate a player into your roster without a lot of prep time and opportunity. I think that they lost a lot of games to some of the other squads in EMEA, even ending up losing twice to Vitality to go out. But I don't know how much that actually makes me think they're going to do poorly at this event. I think that with MiniBoo back, the ceiling is higher. The way they build around his Neon is excellent, and I think we did see a lot of good, especially in the game planning and like the micro plays they're known for in EMEA. The question is, have they reset from that burnout, and are they ready to show their best form here in Seoul?
Well, there was something, it was an interview I believe I saw with Benji where he was talking about, like, in Shanghai when they showed up, they were like, look, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's just go out there and have fun. And that's what they did. They had fun. I mean, Wu was having a whale of a time. But, you know, I think it gets now to this point where you're here with your full roster, right? Like, those events are fine, right? Because, hey, you didn't have your full roster. You got something to lean back on. But now this is where I'm like, all right, if Heretics doesn't come out the gate swinging, right, you got to wonder, can they hang at the upper echelons in this tournament? I know they can, but it's a question of whether or not that slump has followed them all the way here to Seoul, you know, which could be devastating.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You have this success in Shanghai, and all of a sudden, all eyes are on you.
Yeah.
You're like maybe going to be...
You're like the face of the region.
Exactly. With Fnatic, you could be the banner carriers of EMA. You could be this resurgence of this region to come back even stronger, potentially. So the problem became, right, that you had Woot performing out of his mind on the duelist role. You want to keep that guy in somewhere, put him on the initiator. He's still doing very, very well for the most part, other than like one bad game he had against somebody, I can't remember who, he had like minus 17. But other than that, he's been fine. And so like, the pressure can get to you, and when you're playing loose, when you're playing fun, this is something that a lot of teams have been talking to me behind the scenes for this tournament, is they're coming in with the let's have fun, let's be loose, let's play with, you know, a little bit of swagger on there, but no pressure is what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, ideally that's what you'd want in this situation. It's high pressured, but of course, you know, it's a matter of whether or not you're going to be able to put up in those moments where it counts.
The best teams right now are the ones who have managed to beat the burnout and stay successful, and I think Gen G is the only team who has had that consistency. We saw it just then with the Sentinels, who has struggled after the Madrid win. The question is, will Shanghai be the high for Team Heretics, or can they have a resurgence and show that form again here in Seoul?
Yeah, and of course, you know, for the Heretics, this is going to be a trying test for them as they take the stage against an FPX team that can very well throw anything against the wall, and it could very well work. And of course, the vibes have not really been the same over on the Heretics cap. Let's actually go ahead and check out this post-match interview that we did with MiniBoo earlier.
Now, before we came to this interview, you said you were a little disappointed. What's going on?
Like, in my mind, it's like my typical usual stream game on Ranked. I was tilted. I don't know, I couldn't kill anyone. My decisions were worst in my life. I was cold, I was hot, I was not enough. Okay, I'm chilling. Okay.
Of course, you know, MiniBoo wasn't able to make it to Shanghai, but he is back on this roster, you know, with an opportunity here to hoist a trophy over his head. Talented player through and through, but of course, you know, this is a big opportunity for him, and it's the first time we've been able to really get to see him take the stage like this.
Team Heretics with and without MiniBoo, I think, are very distinctly different teams. When they're playing with him, I think he is definitely the player that defines this roster. They play more Neon comps than any other team, and it's not even close. And that's because of this guy. And when you watch them play, we've always known them. For the set plays, the little ideas in the mid-round for re-clearing space, those little coordinated pieces. That is kind of, the identity of that is around MiniBoo. When you watch him play on this Neon, defensive side, they're going to have re-clears set up all over the map with his utility. They're going to have him being super mobile to always be in the right place to set him up for that success. I think he gets more value out of his stun than any other Neon player I have ever watched, and that is so hard now that there is only one of those relay bolts.
And I mean, two things strike me with MiniBoo. One, I agree with you fully. He's the best Neon in the world right now. I don't think there's much question about that. It's that one of the things that can give Neon some trouble is you get too far ahead of your squad, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're so fast, you're just miles ahead.
Just sliding in the gunfire.
Yeah, and then the other team just throws a smoke or a molly right behind you, and all of a sudden you're cut off from the rest of your team, right? But he's good enough in those moments that he can take over. We're just seeing it in some of these highlights where he's getting these double kills, these triple kills on his own when he's just ahead of the rest of his squad.
Yeah.
However, Heretics does such a good job being right there with him, right behind him. Like, I think back to like when they played Haven with the ISO, like they worked so well in tandem together with that. They're able to come together at the right times, at the right angles. So that's what's so impressive about it, because a lot of teams that try Neon can't keep up with their Neon, and it just makes the pick somewhat it has way less value.
They're playing the Agent on all but 2 maps, which is absolutely crazy when you compare that to the rest of the field.
Well, we literally didn't see Neon in the first game of the day.
Oh,
No,
yeah, Gen G
I mean,
doesn't play Neon.
People thought Neon was going to define the meta, and she's viable on most of the maps in the pool, but most teams haven't decided to go for it, and Team Heretics is really committed into this read.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's safe to say, though, that we are going to get a ton of Neon today from MiniBoo and from these compositions that are going to be supporting it, correct?
I think the interesting contrast here is that MiniBoo, when you watch him play, he is a star. He has those crazy moments. He has the pop-off. But I think what defines him is how he plays in the system, how he's using his utility, how on their attacking side they're using him to scale and take different space in the map. Compared to Life, who is a guy who is given so much agency to go off on his own and take risks and make his own plays. You're not going to see MiniBoo doing that in the same way. The question is, though, for a bit of a wounded Heretics, can their structure hold up to an FPX that is so disruptive, that can boom you if things start going wrong?
Yeah, and I guess what I'm wondering is, like, you know, the pitfalls on each side, right? You had a great pickup there when, you know, talking about how FPX likes to play very unorthodox manner. But how does Heretics try and, well, take advantage of the fact that FPX likes to be a little bit too unorthodox and make too many risky plays?
No, I mean, I think you have to stick to what's worked. You have to stick to these fundamentals where you're working with the Neon, where you're playing off of that, you're able to combo the utility well. That's going to give FPX problems with their more individualistic playstyle.
All right, folks. Well, our teams are ready to go. So let's go ahead and bring them down to the stage and get the show on the road.
FPX. Team Heretics.
It's a Shanghai rematch. It's rematch day at Champions, and you love to see it. Heretics versus FPX, and FPX, an opportunity here to right a wrong that happened for them in Shanghai. But for Heretics, they have their full lineup, they're at full power, and it's time to see what they can bring to the table. And oh boy, Abyss is our first map to kick things off. FPX coming in hot.
We already talked about it. They're really good on this map. They've been playing it a lot at home in the CN region. I think their Yoru jet comp is pretty creative, but they play it quite well. Their defensive side especially has always looked really good. But this is a map that we have seen from Heretics. They're playing a Gecko Breach comp that I actually thought looked pretty good, but we have only seen it once from them.
Yeah, whether or not they bust that out again will be the question. Curious to see what MiniBoo could do on Abyss as well here. That'll be pretty fun.
I'm really excited about this matchup. I think both teams bring something pretty unique here. The Astra is one of the things I really look at with Heretics that a lot of teams aren't really leaning into on this map. The ability to control some of those tight angles and the post plants and things like that to maybe even drag people pretty far away, you know, from the angles that they need to hold. Stuff like that is really important on this map because there's a lot of cubbies that you can hide in, and there's a lot of smokes that you can utilize with the Astra as well. Really, really cool stuff. But on the other side, I mean, I think my eyes are going to be on Life's Yoru. That has been really impactful, really really devastating to the opponents that they faced on Abyss so far. They're 2-0 on Abyss. They beat Trace Esports. They beat EDG on it. This is definitely also kind of a must-win for FPX, it feels like. This has been their map. This is their map pick. You know it's going to be really tight no matter what against Heretics.
So we're seeing a change up here from Team Heretics. Before they were playing the Breach Gecko. Now they're switching over to a Jet Sova composition. We don't see a lot of Jet from MiniBoo, but in both of these first two maps, he's probably not going to be playing that Neon whatsoever. So it's a different role for him to bust out. Some of the strengths of this Sova, obviously the cross-map information, how you can set up on the darts, and as we've seen from teams like 100 Thieves and even from Team Heretics when they play their bind with the Fade Gecko, how powerful that double initiator kind of information comp can be when you're combining those tools together.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they work around this here, right? But of course, you know, I fully expect Rians and Woot to really synergize quite beautifully to be able to maximize on the utility and just the composition as a whole. And it's time to see really what FPX are going to bring to the table here on Abyss. It's going to be awesome. Everyone is locked in, so let's go ahead and send it down to your casters, professional yappers, two of my favorite people, Mitch and Tom, baby.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy, and our wonderful analyst desk.
I went to Waffle University. It's a place down the road.
I saw that the other day. Yeah, you're back where you went to uni. It's good to see. Tom, this is going to be one hell of a matchup. We've heard it from the desk. FPX, they play an interesting style. You've been talking my ear off about them for the last couple weeks.
I love this
Heretics,
team.
Listen, we know these guys. One of the main criticisms we had, one of the main issues they had was time. They were burnt out. Now they've had their rest, their time to reset, and big challenge for FPX taking them down.
Yeah, they've also switched things up a little bit in terms of their composition. MiniBoo going to be over to the Jet and bringing in the Sova. I'm interested to see, because they were setting up around the Breach quite a bit, but now that's gone. It's definitely going to be a different look. The look that's there for the side of FPX is one I'm always excited for. I think Berlin has to be a highlight. He is a nutcase. He's going to try weird stuff that you haven't seen before, unless you've been watching the Chinese region, in which case maybe you have. For now, though, a very aggressive defensive push all the way through A, looking to try and catch them on the flank, but I believe Life has spotted it.
He did. He was ready for that. Only peeked up the top, gave the info to Lysaurus. Good for one. The Sheriff, though, running low on ammo. Flash comes through. He won't dodge it. Now they're right on top of him. Easy trade for Heretics, but the site is claimed. FPX knew the ground they'd given up. Life up top looks to take it all the way onto Boo. And now they've got a foothold, an aggressive one that Heretics will have to fight for. And they win their first duel.
Aya's still up there, though. They might not expect the second, but they're playing as a unit, moving as a pack, leaving Berlin, who hasn't actually been spotted in the corner, but Woot lands the shot anyway, leaving Autumn to try and hold on. Utility expended, needs to land the shots first, doesn't go his way, and well, he's not going to get a second chance. Pistol goes the way of Heretics.
Yeah, you really see them sticking as a blob, whether it's the A-main push to start this off on the defensive side, they get up, they get the information, and then there's no splitting, there's no sending a player out to die by themselves. Instead, just using the numbers to their advantage in the pistol. It works out, and the few little extra plays that FPX tried, they don't manage anything. So 1-0 we start, rifles coming through, and I'm excited by what I'm seeing. There's still 15 seconds left. They could easily decide to sell some of these weapons.
You're going to talk about
what am I going to say? Goddamn right. It's an outlaw on MiniBoo, the Jet. I'm excited to see what he can do. No shields on the other side, so this could be a big farming round for him. Bring him closer to that ultimate, but he's only got one orb on the board, so it'll be a while before it comes to fruition.
That's one of the most fun things about this map is what you can do with the Bladestorm. Like, you can literally jump off the map and go for kills. Yeah. That's some of the crazy stuff we've seen. I think Smoggy was doing that over on EDG. But now, though, MiniBoo's just looking for those early fights. It seems more spread from the attack side. Maybe an attempt to just collect some orbs, potentially look for a plant. You can't really have too many expectations from a round like this, and they're playing it very safe. But I do think that dimensional drift is a huge part of what they're going to be going for. Site control, a big part of their game plan, but also it just allows Life to go crazy, and that's something that genuinely, he's one of the most terrifying duelists in the whole tournament because he is, as said, just a little bit insane.
I wonder if we'll see this continue. Much more passive hold over B. It was the same in the pistol for Boo, but his teammates were pushing A that time. Now, well, he has actually shifted into a slightly more aggressive position. Could be in trouble. Smoke used, though, to back out, concede the space, and with that, FPX will find themselves a plant. Again, the idea from Heretics isn't to stop them in their tracks, it's to wait and retake it as a unit. Already finding one with the Outlaw. The players on backside might have a chance with the Classics catching them off guard. Decent damage to Benji.
how much they can get in terms of the kills, though. Not really playing alongside each other. A little bit further back for Autumn, and it makes this training quite a bit easier. One kill at least, make things that little bit more costly, but you can see Rian's only having a pistol that is not really going to force any rebuys for the next round, other than the player who was already going to purchase anyway.
I mean, there was a decent amount of damage done, but yeah, just too spread across the players. So no kills converted, bar that one. No weapons dropped and left for the Ether. FPX will be facing off against a decent buy coming into the next. One investment from Team Heretics gets them a Vandal. Everything else is definitely in fighting form. The Bulldogs sort of backed up by the fact that you've got an Outlaw. You could be facing 10 HP or just tag him once and let MiniBoo do the cleanup. For FPX, Rifles come out and Dimensional Drift for life.
That's the big one.
That's going to get them into a site.
Yeah, and you can already see, not messing about. All of the players are up over on the left side of the map, getting ready, pinging over onto the B site. It does seem, though, that Heretics have a decent idea. A very passive hold. Benji sitting back. Now, he should be able to clear at least some of the trips. Make sure that they're not going to be able to hold on to that ground. Although saying that, it seems like they're both still standing.
Yeah, there was a clear idea from Heretics to change their setup. Boo goes to the A site this round. Traps are here to try to catch these players as they make their way in or out of the site. But now the traps are down. Benji has been blitzed on, and with this FPX, able to fall back, playing a lot of players in main. They've lost their mid control, but that's not that big of a stress this late in the round. Main thing is keeping life on the site and having the support to cover him as they cross. Even the TPUs to get out of there, and now standard post plants on a long range angle down an alleyway, already finding MiniBoo, and even if they smoke this one off, it's going to be hard to get this stuck all the way with a big swing. Gravwell keeps them back a moment, buys them time, but not quite enough.
Yeah, it definitely came close. Aya tagged life as well, so there was potential for them to try and bring that back, but the Gravwell couldn't quite hold them long enough, unfortunately, for the side of Heretics.
I like the idea.
Yeah, definitely not a bad idea. And you can see that, again, I think this was a map that FPX are using against a lot of teams because they're not going to be massively well prepped. But it seems like for Heretics, they have a decent idea of what they're going to be doing. They're playing this map because they're comfortable enough on it, at least, even if they haven't had a massive break. I know a lot of the players said that they sort of went home, had some time, maybe with family or friends, just to try and counter the bigger problem, which was the burnout. For now, though, it seems like FPX are going to go straight for that middle control. Now, we've seen teams using, well, even them, using the Viper wall for the same purpose, but instead already both smokes utilized early in the round just to try and take this space.
Oh, Life is really committing to this. Decoy sent through a flash to start, and they're trying to catch a fight. Unfortunately, they have. It was Benji Fishy to take down Life and slow this push completely. The squad now trapped in by Ult coming in from Woot. Big play from Boo. He's caught Autumn off guard. Barely any ground to hold on to for FPX, and now down to nothing. Berlin, he's made it to the site. His sneak up through B main is successful. Unfortunately, he's got 4 opponents to take down in a reveal that's going to make him give it away. The steps definitely shown Heretics where he is, and well, I don't think he's getting away with this one. The crash finally gets him.
Boo is nice. Boo is a nice person. He gets detained. He decides, you know what? I'm actually just going to finish him off before anything else can happen, and even get himself the extra ultimate orb, which gets him that little bit closer. Now, the problem for FPX is financially a bit of a weird one. You've got yourself Aya with a bit of extra cash. The same can be said for Life, which, hey, again, you put him in the right position and things can definitely go their way. I feel like the problem with this round, though, was they wanted to try and go for mid-control, but it was very telegraphed. Like, you're using both smokes, like, unless you're going for some crazy fake play. I don't think it's going to fool anyone, and the main person that could have been caught was Benji.
Yeah, and he hit his shot. Simple as that. MiniBoo, free kill, and he's dashed right out.
That dart caught everyone. It caught everyone.
That dart caught Life as well. A shock dart sent through, picking off one. Damage done. Berlin down to 62. FPX don't have a lot to work with here. Obviously, still the rifle on Aya, but the rest of the squad just with pistols. And well, they are going to need a big performance to make this one. It's not about winning it. It's about keeping that economy managed on the Team Heretics side. They can't have all 5 players carrying rifles through to the next round, and at least there's the first to fall. MiniBoo with Woot and Rian super low. This could still be an okay round in terms of economy damage for the attackers.
Yeah, it does revolve. Maybe on a sneaky play from Autumn. He's making his way down mid. The problem is if his teammate falls, would mean that they eventually start looking back in the other direction while the cam's going to do that anyway. Even still, The aggressive position of Boo means that a plant is going to be tough. And even still, they're going to walk back into a trip. So there really is just going to be so much information. Boo is just waiting for a mistake to be made. Utility trying to be cleared from Aya, but he is dead. Like, unless Boo makes a massive mistake, I don't think there's any way that Aya's going to survive.
No, of course not. It's not an angle you will usually clear, and not one that you can from the position he was in. Free for Boo. Even at the information with the trap being broken earlier, and obviously the steps were loud as can be. Autumn with a chance. There's one, and low HP on Rienz if he can isolate the fight, but he wants the rifle, and Benji's guarding it. 4-1, a solid start to this defensive side. Heretics lose their third round, one that they're kind of expected to, where they had the weaker weapons, but since rifles come out, doesn't look like they're breaking much of a sweat. That last round wasn't a big one from FPX, though. This is where the investment comes through for the attacking side.
I think the scary prospect, though, is just bear in mind that Bind is up next. A map that there was a 6-win streak for the side of Heretics until that was ended in OT by Vitality. That was the way that they managed to actually qualify for Champions in the first place. So I wouldn't say that Bind is going to be a weak map, and it's one that I don't think is the best for FPX. So and maybe they've changed things, maybe they got something new to throw in, but I think their sort of like hidden gem was this map. Not many teams are, I would say, at the top level, like at a good position. Like, a lot of teams are trying different things. I don't think a meta has necessarily been set. And if they're going to get, well, boomed, which I wouldn't say they are yet, but they need to slow it down. I like the fact that they've called a pause already. It's not really been like a catastrophic destruction of what they've been attempting, but I feel like so far everything they've tried, considering they've got this like Yoru comp which is meant to be a bit off kilter and catch people, it hasn't. It's been quite obvious what they've been trying to do.
Yeah, Heretics have seemed ready for it every step of the way, and I think even that the mid push you talked about, as you said, telegraphed with smokes, then the decoy goes through, they let it pass, take the fight immediately. It was Benji dropping life after the flash, after the decoy had gone through. Just avoiding the utility and dealing with the man himself. And I think that's a problem that FPX are going to look to solve by, as you said, slowing down this round, looking for a bit more global control instead of isolating just one angle and pushing down there, and then sending late lurks out that Heretics are ready for because they've often got the advantages. Like you said, they're not getting boomed just yet. 4-1, it's an acceptable early scoreline. But we need to see this attacking side find the solutions pretty soon. And now, this is the best time for it. A bunch of ultimates online, albeit Lysor and Berlin's not high impact, but the rifle's coming out.
They've tried to do the same again, like throw a couple of early smokes. But this is just a ruse. It's trying to sell the idea that they're going for the same play. The problem is there's been a change-up from Heretics as well. They've now got the operator roaming in mid, so nobody else has moved. The orb being taken is definitely going to be heard as well. So again, like the idea was to try and sell some sort of fake, sell some sort of lurk. But thus far, that hasn't happened.
No success in that front whatsoever. Team Heretics with... You know, we mentioned the change-up in setup that we saw a few rounds ago where Benji came in to prevent this B-site push. You've not just got Benji, but Boo here as well. Both of these players, we've seen anchoring sites now committed to holding the angles. Decoy is the one that's sent through. It's not even going to be touched. They allow it to fade into insignificance. Trap, luckily, not going to catch anyone. Aya's able to destroy it in time, and they've claimed the space. Now the rotations come in from Heretics. Now they look to defend that B site or even to retake it, but little do they know the spike is going elsewhere. All they have to do on this site is buy time, and Aya's done a good job of that. Autumn might not be able to get out of here, but look at Lysor's position, sneaking up through mid, cutting this defense apart, and Autumn's even picked another.
It's a double dip, almost a triple dip. They sell an initial fake, throw it into it, what seems like a take of the B site, and then throw it back over to A again. That was really nice. Incredibly complicated. It's something that you do feel like at any stage, if Heretics managed to catch on, it could have gone completely wrong, but I like it. Like, you're throwing in the double smokes early again. You're then going to be using an ultimate and then and even sending a couple of players into that site and then going back in the other direction with, what, 20 seconds left on the clock? I think the main point of that round, though, was Lysor. Just having him still in middle, leaving Autumn as the secondary lurk, it makes it so difficult for anybody to actually move on Heretics without being caught or being put in a 1v1.
Well, early on, there's a big fight for A main. Just like the pistol, Heretics want a triple push up. They've spotted the operator already, and the dash actually caught on the wall. That's going to cost MiniBoo his life. The flash stopped him from being able to see exactly where he was dashing to. Well, a terrific start for FPX, and I think this was a response from Heretics to the last round. They played it blind, tried to rotate, assuming FPX were going to be as one-dimensional as they were a few rounds ago, and instead, they now go for the push to get the early info, walk straight into the op, pick is found, and FPX can now go back to that 2D play because, well, they've got the advantage. You're not going to have as many players rotating in.
They're pushing into what is almost at this stage a double sentinel. It's a bit of a gamble, keeping both players here, even having a rotation out from the side of Wu as well, who has been hitting his shot so far. Wu even going to just be waiting behind, but it's almost just a peek out straight behind the utility. Boo goes down, Benji is still here, looking to try and fight on top of it. He almost gets two. The second player so desperately low, even knows that he's still on this corner. Just waiting for someone to try and swing around that corner. I think he's got him dead to rights, a second to his name. But that wraparound, they're waiting for it, they're trying to watch for it, and almost getting that information might just give the game away. Berlin still managing to fight back with another, putting thing into a 2 versus 2, but that time has been ticking all the way along. Benji looking to try and get things to half. He's succeeded, but with his teammate going down, it's now left all onto him, surrounded in the end, and FPX, well, it got a little bit dicey, but they get it over the line.
Yeah, well, listen, you told me that Life does some crazy stuff, and I'm waiting for the TPs and so on. There he fake TPs, pushes through a smoke with an op. Hey, that's not a conventional play. It's not one I'd recommend you try at home, but my goodness, it most certainly has worked. And again, that early aggression towards A, the fact that Heretics try to take the space to find a solution to the problems they had last time, well, it hasn't worked out. And now from the Heretics side, you know that if you play it slow and rotate in off what is clearly an execute, FPX might fake it. If you go for the early aggression to grab control so that you know where the hit's coming through, FPX might be waiting. This is a very good resurgence. A team that was 4-1 down with no answers, they've certainly started to fill in that worksheet.
And the bigger problem now is the economy. I will say there's a lot of ults that are either online or very close. MiniBoo 1 away, Rian's 1 away. This round on paper seems easy, but if I've learned anything from Heretics is that Benji plays better with the Sheriff. Mark, who's to doubt the other players on this squad? Again, I feel like the darts from Rians have pinged up the entire team multiple times. I feel like FPX might have to go to the workshop and try and shoot those before they go off. Again though, FPX just taking things slow. They know that a round like this is likely to have weaknesses, likely to have pieces missing, so they don't really need to overface.
All they have to do is get towards this side as well. They have the pit if things start to go wrong, but unlikely to be used in a round where there's mostly weaker weapons. Instead, this ultimate, the dimensional drift is used. Get into the site, root out all these players, grab the info, go for a very aggressive peek. The flash even thrown through by Woot gets nothing, and the control swinging clearly in favor of FPX. A 5 versus 2. There'll be no pit used this round, I'll guarantee you of that. With a plant on the bridge, this round has become very difficult for Heretics to even find anything in. You're talking about economy damage at this point, and it's one man. Make that no man. Aya's had a hell of a round.
Yeah, no, he just goes running in, takes the battles. Obviously, the space was taken initially by Life. Just, I don't mind committing an ult like that in a round where ultimately you're in a position to spare a few here and there and just make sure that you're not going to lose to pistols. As said, the opponents can be incredibly dangerous on the side of Heretics with those pistols in hand, and he was able to make sure there at least wasn't a direct stack on the side. Although there was 3 players around, and Aya, well, he kind of dealt with those very easily indeed.
We've had a Team Heretics pause called 4-1 in the lead, and now tied up neck and neck, with FPX seemingly having an answer for every problem they're presented with. And this is a big round for Heretics. Last time, they had the pistols, like we said. Now, they've got rifles and an operator. Ultimates × 4. FPX still have that Viper's Pit to fall back on. Aya's picked up the Nightfall as well.
I think the things that worry me again is MiniBoo. He's getting off to a bit of a quiet start, and we know that he is someone that very self-critical, very hard on himself, and also someone that I think the highs are very high and the lows are very low. And obviously, you have players like Woot, Benji who can pick up the slack. There's no one on this Heretics team that I would say is a weakness. I guess the same for the other team. I think FPX clinically underrated. I think that EDG have their number, But when they come to the international stage, well, the teams they lost to last time around were Team Heretics, where they lost 15-17 in the last map in OT, and a team called Genji. So,
all right, I heard.
And they took a map off both. So this is a team that I think, again, maybe if you're a Sentinels fan, you're thinking, it's fine, we'll have FPX in the lower bracket. I would not breathe easy just yet.
Well, they took a map off Genji, Sentinels didn't. Just earlier on.
Sure.
Face your fear.
But I think this group truly is terrifying from top to bottom, and I'm sure most people would put FPX at the bottom, but I'm not sure I do. Berlin already directly into the site. Loves his TPs, but it's a lot of damage done off the rip.
Yes, well, I is extremely low, but so too is Woot.
Oh, hello.
Crash still there to be used. Big backside push. Berlin holds the line for a moment, but then Woot on his low HP, the one to trade out, pick up the double. At least FPX scrambling.
Mid just to clear out that lurk. I think Rian just had enough. He's like, he's going to be here. I'm going to check. But again, it's an opening left on that A site, which is going to be a plant. Viper's Pit available, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop this, other than maybe Blind Hunter's Fury to try and deny the plant. That might slow them down a bit, and that is what he's going to go for. It's not hit.
It was close, but unfortunately it comes at the cost of his life, with Life himself being the one to grab that kill. Blade Storm, we just heard it activated by MiniBoo. They're going to commit to this. And going through that Viper's Pit with a Blade Storm might be an advantage. Find him, drop the right click, and get it done. Flash out a little early. Life's going to get ahead of the Thrash, but not destroy it. Luckily, it's gone too deep. It's inside the ultimate itself. You're not going to be able to recover that, certainly not with any form of ease. MiniBoo, I almost expected him to go up top. Instead, he's just running it through, finding one, but it's not the Viper. Now you're down to the Operator. That's not the right weapon for the job. The spray's good to drop the diffuser, and although Autumn falls, the time already too far gone, and they can't deal with Life. FPX, this started out abysmal for him, but they've taken the lead.
Yeah, I've heard the phrase, life comes at you fast, but I've never heard life clutches it out, because that's he seems to be everywhere. And that's the thing. Like, Aya's been having a great game, but Life is up there as well, normally as the tip of the spear and somehow even surviving to the late game as well. And this round, again, was just, the mid-round calling has been exceptional. Like, we have seen different moments where they start one side of the map, they go for these opening picks, and by the time you even notice it, they're back on the other side, they've cleared everything out, and even losing the lurk. Like, that was a moment you think, okay, the round's done.
Well, they had 2 lurks.
Yeah, and then they go hunting. Life again was the guy who got the kill on Rian's.
Oh, no!
Oh, no, look away. Look away.
When you talk about MiniBoo being self-critical, I hope he can let that one go. That's a rough one.
I hope other people can let that one go as well. I think that's going to be in a montage or two.
They only have pistols. At least they only have pistols this round.
Right.
It's not as bad as it could have been. That's rough, man. That is very rough.
Yeah.
FPX.
GB loves the phrase "from the top rope." I don't think that's what he meant.
From the mid rope, right down to the bottom. Well, 5-4, and it's a 5v4. With FPX having the lead without drawing blood themselves. They've got to be happy about that.
Berlin did get the kill.
Technically, it was given, but he wasn't too involved. It was by proxy.
No, it's just fear. He saw into Berlin's eyes. Maybe MiniBoo has nightmares of Berlin in more ways than one.
Oh, wow.
Here we go. 4 players to try and find anything again. I feel like we've been saying this a lot, just an attempt to do damage, and wow, Woot's going to get one for free. That's not too bad. Trade eventually there from Aya. Keeping them honest. No ultimates if they needed them, but I don't think they will. This is now falling perfectly into place for the side of FPX. 6-4 from what was, correct me if I'm wrong, 4-1. They have now managed to streak themselves 5 rounds in a row. There you go. Well, you can see it on your screen. Don't need my help.
It's been a very impressive resurgence.
It just, that's the...
Oh, you can see it in the player cam.
Oh. The thing is, it's the worst player for it to happen to as well, because I feel like if Benji has like, he's going to be giggling, he's going to be having a laugh.
Laughing away.
I think Woot as well.
A silly little goose.
But MiniBoo, after having a rough start, I feel like that might get to him. And he's going to go aggro. I think wanted to try and rectify things, but hey, FPX are meeting him.
They absolutely are. Look, with a guy like Life, we've seen this a couple of times. He's willing to play a little bit loose. A little bit crazy. Setting out the late lurk for Berlin. He's going to be covering the back lines where the traps from Cypher don't. And for Team Heretics, Same old thing. Group up, play this as a blob, move together. Smoke's online for Boo fairly soon. He's popping down his stars as we speak. But the time here is a big problem.
They've had it for a while. They could section things off. There you go. Space taken, but they have to deal with light.
They also have to be quick because Berlin's on the way up behind. And if he finds that space before they've claimed the site, this could be an absolute disaster. Problem is, denying this defuse is very difficult. Oh, the run through is good. And the shorty comes out for more. A gorgeous play from Autumn. I thought that was going to be a close round, if anything, a guaranteed for Heretics back on the board. But well, FPX just doing FPX things.
The funny thing is, if Benji stood a little bit further forward, he dies to full damage.
He pushes him off.
He literally would have fallen off, but I guess it's a risk. It would be a big risk just to play that far forward. But yeah, the fact he jumps in, sprays ones down, and then gets the second with the shorty, like, and the Cosmic Divide was great, but again, when you're up against a team like this who have no fear, they don't mind playing through your utility, you have to basically body check them into not playing confidently, and I don't think anybody's managed to do that ever. And well, speaking of confidence, Autumn's coming into this round with the Viper attack side op. Actually, in fact, so is Aya.
Yeah, I mean, they've got extra credits. I have to assume there's a weapon on the floor in case things start to spiral out. This is the last round of the half, remember, and well, Berlin's got enough credits to buy them a few spare rifles. So does Lysor. For FPX, well, 6 rounds in a row. No surprise to see them playing confident. And even in the last round, I feel like they had that hero play. But they also had Berlin coming up behind. If the play was slightly slower from Heretics, throwing out a lot of opportunities for themselves in the late round. Now it's going to be the same thing.
Read again.
Lysor mid lurk, play to B site. But again, Heretics, all the utils here, and they've got Rians this time.
That's it. His darts have been impressive, and he's got it online now. Trying to get that information, and it is eventually going to be denied. In fact, not catching anybody this time. The one time it would have been almost instant death for the side of this attack. They're taking the space, jumping up. Benji's found the first. Holding that line, but it's not clean. It's not pretty. Oh, Aya's managed to take him down. Timer ticking and the spike still in an awkward spot. But again, he's always there, always behind. The timing's going to be everything, though, as Rians drops another. He's heard the steps of MiniBoo coming behind him. He's trying to catch this guy off guard instead, and now looks to switch back. That plant is just about going to be coming in time. And they've still got to worry about that flank.
Yeah, it's made its way up top now, and well, it doesn't look like the flank's the main problem. Berlin's holding strong. Autumn's here to support, although he's lost his head. Now the flank going to be dealt with, but ammo is the main concern. 8-4 as we close out this half, and FPX, they were 4-1 down. Yeah. This was looking bad. They needed an answer, and by golly, they found it.
Yeah, no, this was just an impressive dismantling. I've really enjoyed the way that we've seen mid-round switch-ups, more direct takes. As I said, I think the calling, honestly, from the side of FPX has been utterly sublime. And then just those individual plays, like Lysor, bottom of the board, has been an irritant for them the entirety of this half.
Well, nothing but problems for the side of Team Heretics after round 5. There's been no success. They'll get a moment to recoup ahead of the next half. We'll be back in just a little bit.
Oh, come on. Trade in any phone in any condition guaranteed and get $800 off the new Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Lost myself, now I'm fully disguised. My heart got bruised up, so I put it on ice. Been told that I wouldn't make it in this life, but now all of you see there's so much room for me. And I know you think I still can take advantage, and you always took my humbleness for granted. But I know my worth, you can't take that away from me. And I know you think
after a big streak of rounds from FPX. It's got to be said, Heretics probably not feeling the greatest after that half. They had full control, hands on the reins. Now they've been left out in the cold. For FPX, everything's going right. Every call they make is coming to fruition, and I think for Heretics, this pistol will be essential. We've got MiniBoo, 3 and 10. He fell off the map as well. I mean, as far as confidence builders go, this has been a disaster of a start.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't get much worse, and just look at already what's being attempted. You got the Viper screen down in case they needed to cover mid, but instead they've just TP'd right into it. Benji, though, has managed to catch the first player. I want to point out, there was more than one. Berlin is still going, but it seems like Boo is very aware of the potential of further aggression. They are holding for this FPX squad.
Yep, making some pressure on A, but I'm not even sure if they're looking to commit. For FPX, though, it seems quite clear that there's about to be a hit on that side of the map. The steps, the noise, the utility is now over there. 3 players now stacked up, with Berlin left with the responsibility of hearing the steps if the rotations come through. And considering they killed Young on mid, they might start to go quite quickly around. There's a lot of pings here, though. Pings that certainly indicate they're suspicious of a player being around here, and they've caught Berlin. Okay, the snake in the grass dealt with, and Heretics, I think, are going to move into the B site. Yes, they are, and it's wide open.
Yeah, they've been methodical this round. I think they were very ready for that mid push, something that is attempted by FPX in a fair few rounds.
30 seconds left.
Watching it from multiple angles, and while now for the defense, they are going to need themselves a bit of a hero play. Wingman will be sent through. A little obstacle course for him to make it onto the site, but defense are already here. All 3 players looking for someone to make a mistake.
Well, perhaps Rian's has. He faced into Lysor, who seems to be hungry for some kills. Already picking up 2. And damage done to Benji. This is workable. With Lysor down, the pressure falls on Autumn. He's had some big plays, big rounds, but it's a little tough to do in the pistol, surrounded on all sides. And Heretics, everybody put the work in this time. A team ace to put a round on the board after quite a while. They finally get to taste victory.
Yeah, it's an important one for them. And now that's both pistols in this map 1, and currently still going to be at a deficit unless they manage to win the bonus or something of that sort. It's definitely not an ideal scenario. But I will say, from what we've seen, at least in the pistol, they're aware of what's going to be attempted by FPX. The thing is, they have cooked up a lot of stuff on this map. I'm still waiting for the round where Berlin gets his ultimate online to see if he's going to try some of the stuff that he was attempting in previous matches versus EDG, trying to jump off the map, use his ultimate to teleport across, cancel it, and then Shrouded step back onto the map, and then he got shot in the face. But the idea is there. It's just, if he can make that work, he's going to look like the greatest player ever. But this round, well, any kills would be nice, and any damage they can do. On the other side of things, as always, Heretics have got a couple of pistols that they can use as, well, in this case, lurkers, or to take more of a risk if needed.
Yeah, much more controlled early round from the Heretics than what we saw from FPX in those first couple. Spread out, just looking to push and pull the map and get a sense of what they're up against on this defensive side. For FPX, the gamble on B, well, I'm not sure that it'll find value. That aggression you're seeing out of Heretics is only to find the orb, and then they're on the rotation back towards this site that's much more open. Just one man defending it, and Life is about to go through the smoke, and that will be the end of him. A site now open for the taking. A little bit of Cypher utility awaiting them, but no one to execute on the back of it.
No one there. He can walk into every single one of those trips unless it catches him and pulls him off the map. I don't think that's going to be working. And I was about to say, surely at this point, if he hasn't realized it by now, we have a problem. For the rest of the players, it may genuinely just be a, well, I was going to say die to the spike, or, you know, there's other ways. Oh no, I tripped.
I have tripped and fallen. No. FPX, I think the spike is the likely play. I guess look to just punish anybody that gets aggressive.
If they catch someone, get an orb. The thing is, none of their ultimates are even remotely close. Lysor is the closest, and I don't think it's worth risking giving stuff over to the other side. So Boo is going to gamble. He wants to try and get himself a little closer. Only has a pistol to play with, so it's an orb for an orb. Not going to be the worst scenario, not going to be the best. And while Heretics have closed the distance a little bit more. The problem being, though, is in the buy rounds is where FPX were, well, as you can see by the timeline, by far the better side.
Yes, absolutely. When those rifles come out, when old cycles are through, and honestly, a lot of the time it's been nothing to do with ultimates. It is just how they're playing the map. But on the attack side, it's a different game. I don't expect them to slow down too much, though. The results here, this is, well, it's their pick for a reason. On this defense, B-side, Viper, Autumn's been having a good game so far, and his challenge is a little bit more aggressive than what we saw from Heretics. Boo was constantly playing far back in Heaven, or Benji, playing towards the spawn with his utility. Instead, Autumn is out looking for a fight.
Because they've got Thrash online. If he's not put into a better position, or if he's caught out, he is the only defender of this site, so that definitely could be an issue. I think also just playing on this side when there's a Gecko, because that is the normal route to send through Wingman to get you into the after plant. It's the common post plant that we see from a lot of teams. And I guess with Berlin now alongside him, it isn't so much of a risk. I think we've also seen a bit of utility on the other side of the map, so I think FPX at this point have a pretty decent idea. That doesn't necessarily mean that Heretics are going to stick to this. In fact, no, they're doubling back.
Some of these rounds are going to hinge on that mid lurk, and we've seen Benji sitting around this position, but only holding for the aggression. Not looking to get up in their faces, opening the door at least to cause some paranoia, but, well, FPX know there's nothing going on. Life has committed himself to holding down middle. FPX have a lot of utility on A. We saw this in the last round. The traps were there awaiting them. Although we'll have Thrash going through first, you've still got to avoid those traps. That's exactly what MiniBoo does. Updraft dash takes Heaven control, but no punish just yet there. Lysor eventually falls from the jump up. MiniBoo looks to be a thorn in their side up in Heaven, not just by himself, but with two players, make that nobody. Woot dies, and the fallback from Boo now leaves MiniBoo alone.
They've seen him. It seems like it. Lots of utility being expended, and he's isolated. And the aggression elsewhere hasn't succeeded either. Boo falls, puts the advantage with the defense. Rians and Benji. A little bit of an angle over the top, which might just give the game away. A nice shot from Rians, puts things back into a 2 versus 2. And for a moment, it looked like Ayung was going to try and jump around, but he's thought better of it. That time continuing to tick, Rians continuing to land every shot. 4 kills for him in this round. That Sova switch seems to just work for him. An agent he thrives under, but well, maybe the Guardian's working just a little bit better.
Well, everything else went wrong for them there, but Rian's went right. Unbelievable. The fact that MiniBoo's isolated, either expected or spotted up in Heaven, dealt with the utility thrown down and him forced out of position, and that Woot got caught going up. You know, the idea was to have 3 players there to take a fight, to maybe even flash through the smoke and get super aggressive. But once Woot falls, Boo's in no man's land and quickly swept up.
It's the Turkish Olympian. He doesn't need any of that high-tech mumbo-jumbo.
No.
Put a gun in his hand. And well, they'll be hoping this time it's not the silver medal. Either way, that has wrecked the economy of FPX.
Yeah.
Ayung is going to be in the same position, trying to make that Guardian work. And to be fair, when he's had a hero rifle, there has been extra damage caused. There's no doubt about it. The rest left just onto pistols. I guess in that case, I'd probably be watching Lysor, because his share is fairly nasty. For the other side, though, you got Hunter's Fury, 1 away as well from a Cosmic Divide, which for the most part, it's not normally the most impactful, but when you're up against pistols, being able to section off an angle, if there's a stack, could be high priority. Instead, though, Heretics, again, they fall into this passive default. They are expecting aggression. They're expecting pushes, and to be fair, other than the mid-push, no one's really moving.
Yeah, it's a slow play. And with 40 seconds left, that's when Heretics start to look somewhere else, start to move, and abandon those lurk catches. Well, if Berlin hadn't walked in with his back turned, I think that could have been a different fight. Instead, MiniBoo grabs the opening. It does spur them onto the B side where everyone's waiting, and it's Ayung taking 2 headshots at that with the Guardian. And they're in a bit of trouble jumping across that bridge because Ayung's still waiting. His 4th kill locked in already. And Benji Fishy left in an impossible situation. 3 players and Ayung looking for the ace. He's got it locked in. Another round for FPX, and what a way to do it.
Well, two rounds, 9 Guardian kills. I don't think you're going to find that too often in the history of Valorant. Two players that can both hit the headshots, but Ayung just doing it a little bit better. The first two was so disgustingly clean, but let's be real. I think there was about 1, maybe 2 missed bullets in the entirety of this round for him. FPX showing the depth of skill. He is 19 and 10 right now on the scoreboard. Nobody even close.
Yeah, and again, I hate to harp on it, but we opened this up by talking about it, and even we finished the EMEA Stage 2 by talking about MiniBoo's state. This is a guy that relies on confidence and hasn't had it recently. Bottom of the board, 5 and 12.
They got killed that round.
He did, great, fantastic. But I mean, the problem is, when you look at FPX now, they have the exact opposite problem. Confidence has got to be sky high. They had a streak of rounds in the last half. Now they've put one on the board here in the defense in that kind of fashion. The only thing is, Heretics are still in an okay position to buy up. But if they lose this round, that's the first domino knocked over. For FPX, they're getting into the home stretch.
I think that the thing for them in this series, though, is, again, it's what I said when they were 4-1 up. I'll say it now that they're down. This is the map that if FPX are going to compete, they have to win. Like, I think going into Bind, Heretics are going to feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
It's a map they've got a lot more reps on. In officials, at Masters, you name it, they've played it. So I don't think they're going to be too worried. But of course, coming into this tournament, you want to start clean. You want to start as clean as possible, because you know if you win this one, you've got your grand final again. Yeah. We've already seen one grand final rematch. I think most people were expecting a second. This group truly is terrifying. Life though, well, that's just absurd. He just tried something so risky, and he has walked into. Yep, that's the whole Heretics team.
That is everybody. Young might be in a position to get under that. I think it's just about going to catch him. We'll see. Yeah, he's had to break it as he makes his way through, and now they're aware. They're turning.
Would have made it if he was bold. That's all I'm saying. Another win for the bold gang.
Another win, the first win, let's say. Wow. Team Heretics, 4 versus 1 at this point. It seems to be locked in, but it's Young on the other side. I'm not certain it'll be an easy victory if he decides to go for it, but definitely one that seems locked in.
I believe.
Economy, a little shaky. And for the defensive side, I think it's better to just carry this weapon through to the next. They've made the right call, but that does put Team Heretics with a foot in the door.
Yeah, it sort of is what the desk was talking about. It's the aggressive plays either look amazing or they look like that. You try and flash through a smoke, the whole team is waiting on the other side, you get wrecked. It's going to happen. It's how this composition almost works for them. Like, you have yourself that solo initiator, and because of it, and they do this a lot, they play the double controller or even triple controller on a lot of maps, so you're very reliant on the solo initiator or, and in most cases it's the or, Life to be an initiator with his face. So he's going to go running into angles, flashing into angles. You'll see it, no matter the agent, if he plays Jet, if he plays Raze, he's going to be taking space that you wouldn't even expect the craziest of duelists to take because of the comps that they're running, because they're more reliant on him to do stuff like that. And unfortunately, well, you lose 2 opening picks immediately off the rip. The round's going to go wrong. Luckily, with that extra save, with the extra gun, they're still going to come in with the purchase. And Ultimate's, honestly, at this stage, fairly even.
Yeah, relatively neck and neck. I mean, you can understand that last round, the early aggression. Sometimes you got to just throw in a little extra flair to your round. And if there's a lurker there, he's dead, most likely. But, well, there were 5 people ready to take the fight. For FPX, rotation comes through. Life now in position, ready to take this B fight. In fact, the decoy is sent straight through, and Life is awaited. They let the decoy run past, took the main man down, and now the advantage, well, actually quickly flips hands. Autumn making a fight for it. Boo, though, answers back up alongside Woot. A 2 versus 3, a retake needed for FPX. The spike planted relatively open. The Thrash online just in case. And there's not a lot to say for FPX in terms of their chances. They need picks, they need to get aggressive. At least they'll have the information to work with, but I don't know what that is going to get them. Maybe point the guns in the right direction. Little lurk around from Young. He's going to go for it, yeah. But find absolutely nothing. A firing squad waiting for him.
Yeah, Brian's is there, so clean with it at the end. Scoreline equalized. Another round on the board for Heretics, and again, I think some more just solid utility. We saw the initial flashes that I think the Gecko flash caught like everybody who was on that site. Like every POV we switched to, I'm sure of the observers, like, get one that isn't blind. Just try and find them as they go. But it was rough on the way in. And I also think the dart, yeah, you could just see the combination of utility. You had the dart, the immediate Hunter's Fury, and then the Dizzy that just left everybody within that site without being able to see and being revealed. And I think there was even a counter ultimate of a Nightfall that was thrown in by the defense, but it didn't matter because, well, you might not be able to hear anything, but you can see exactly where they are because of Rien's.
Well, that one round from Young, his 4 kills on the Guardian, we thought that might have spurred them on, put them into the home stretch with just one more round. It put Heretics' economy in a pretty tough spot, but now they've bounced back neck and neck with the attack side certainly getting the grips with their bank accounts, their credits rolling high. Even after buying, they could buy for the next round already. And if they receive nothing, and for FPX, definitely not in the same boat. They're left down to pistols, although at least they're not at that 9-7 gap or 10-7 gap facing an eco. But taking it here means Heretics likely push up to double digits, and if damage isn't done in this round, they'll have a lot of safety net to fall back on.
That's similar to the last half, but at this stage looking a little bit worse for wear. And I think that the problem right now seems to be that any of the aggression they're attempting is just met with the full force of their opponents. And I think Heretics are doing well, in at least when it's versus the buy rounds, they're basically just grouping up. They're knowing that, okay, either we go for a direct take together, we have our trips to still give away the game, but also they're probably going to push. And as long as someone's playing anti-flash or looking the other way, a lot of what Life is going to be attempting isn't going to work. This setup is dirty. They've got a Paranoia setup, a Cam looking forward. They could also send a Prowler through from the corner. This is an almost perfect trap if somebody walks into it, which they didn't. So now the rest of them are going to go hunting this guy with a Guardian. Young is gross.
He needs to stop buying the Vandal.
Yeah, waste.
There's no reason. It's 20 and 11. So many of those are Guardian kills. So many of those are one-taps. 50 seconds on the clock. Spike's already made it to the B site. Planted as we speak. Woot, well, his Dizzy's gone. He's going to play aggressive. He's not going to recover that Dizzy up top instead to try to disorientate the team. The defensive side with a flare of aggression. Banshee's caught one on the flank, but there's a lot more coming. 20 HP left on Young. That'll limit his impact. No. Autumn, I thought he had something special up his sleeve, but just the one to be found. Still, though, a 2 versus 2. If Young had full HP, I might even favor them in this position. I might favor them still. A chance with both solo. 10 HP in the difference. Shock dart in. Rien's finding it. And double digits is locked in. This, considering limited investment from FPX, came very close, though.
The util king. Honestly, Rien's is having a game. Whether it's his reveals, whether it's the shock darts, or whether it's just the headshots he's hitting, he's playing a wonderful match. And right now for them, it has been a difference maker. They haven't been able to really do too much to deal with him. Again, though, it's a low buy round that just gets so dangerous. Young with that Guardian, another couple of kills. In fact, I think the last kills he got before that were also with the Guardian when he got that 4K. That was when we last saw something from him. Viper's Pit immediately put into play, trip alongside it, and it means that they're going to try and gamble elsewhere. Have 3 players towards the B site. Middle control will be held by Lysor, but once again, and no surprise, Heretics are taking their time.
Lysor's going to be pretty passive. Extremely passive, in fact, because you've got the trap sitting inside that Viper's Pit on A. You have 3 kill if they decide to push up. And even if they break it, you're going to have Autumn probably swinging on you right away, spraying a Phantom, no tracers, and you're already decayed massively. It's a huge bit of control to play with for this defensive side, allowing them to stack that B site. The only real concern is mid, and if pressure gets applied there, TP from Life, he's there to fight alongside Lysor, and they can take their duels. Heretics will find it hard to find a response, especially as they've pumped the brakes so heavily in this round. With 40 seconds left, still yet to really make any ground. Rien's considering the drone through A, making it look like this is where the play is coming in, and the hope being that the rotations do come through. Life is TP'd off B at least, so they found it an easier job on that side of the map. Oh, and the push through into heaven.
Leaving one player there, it's Berlin. He's going to be actually pinged immediately by the Dizzy, but it allows him to go back into position. Woot, though, defending his little bro. That means they're going to get into that after plant. Utility retrieved. The rest so far away. Ion, though, has pushed in on his own, and well, he's going to get double swinged for it. A little bit over-aggressive, a little bit individualistic, and because of that, the rest of his team are now still a man down, and they've got to be worried. There is the latest lurk on planet Earth from Benji. He's only just made the drop. I think it actually got heard by Autumn, so he's now waiting. That's another kill to their name, putting things back, but again, Rian's so clean, so confident in these late round scenarios. Autumn's just going to try and get in and defuse this, but actually, I was going to say maybe he wouldn't be pulled off, but I think he has been. The angle not being able to be kept, and eventually it's going to fall flat on its face. Another round where Rian's the last one alive and taking down that final kill.
You know, this round, it makes sense why Benji took so long to get back out, because they made this the most telegraphed A push, A split of all time. The drone goes through the Viper's pit, it catches the tag, immediately on middle, Benji's breaking open the vents, running through to the A site, and letting them know, hey, we tagged you, we're coming to kill you, we're gonna drop that pit, take the site. And the response is what it should be from FPX. They immediately rotate in. Your Viper can't just hold a 360-degree angle, but because of that, the site's much more open. Isolated fight onto Berlin, site secured, plant in, time on their side, and Benji, yeah, he plays it super, super late, but that was what needed to happen. Otherwise, he just runs back out on mid. They obviously know he's there. They kill him. One less guy to deal with.
The danger now, 4 ultimates online for Heretics in a round that if they win, wow, it will put the economy of FPX in an awkward position. Their ultimates, some close, 1 or 2 online, but this is looking like a spot where Heretics might be able to just run away with it. And as said, this is a map that is pretty important for FPX to take. Heading into Bind up next. MiniBoo, space taken. He's got the Thrash actually going in behind him. That will clear the back of the site and give them all the space they need.
Should he be able to get back over to recover that, but Woot, oh, picking up the kill onto Young. I don't think he's going to be going for Thrash. Instead, holding onto that control. Up close is MiniBoo. Ready to take the fight. No one there to support him anymore, though Heretics fall back into much more passive positions. MiniBoo's on his own to slow them down, to make it costly for FPX. Now there could be some trouble. The ult forces him out of position. He knows he was about to be revealed, but Lysor gets the kill. Now the aggression from Life. Flash. Should have another. There it is. Popped and ult completed. Not able to find anything. Sending the decoy through. Just buying the space. Keeping them back in the choke point as the defuse starts. Now he'll body block. Look to absorb those bullets for his teammate. They've killed Life. And now they need the diffuser. Looks like they'll get him just in time. With it ticking away, all they have to do is deny that defuse with the man advantage to their back. And the classic kills to close it out. That's 12-9. FPX left in a really difficult spot now. Economy down low, and 3 in a row needed to stay alive.
That's the thing. If you're in a late round and you see Rienz is alive, just run. Just run. Like, it's a little bit unlucky, like the smoke fading just revealed Berlin to everybody at the end. The body block from Life was a nice idea, but that smoke just, yeah, it wasn't quite there, just not long enough. And while the final push from Rienz, him and Woot, the Turkish duo, up there at the top of the board.
And I think the smoke faded because when they put it up, I could be wrong, but I think they took a second to get towards it because they were cautious of any traps being there. With such a passive hold as well, like I saw them crouch walking into the smoke. An unfortunate one. The 12-9 on the board. Heretics on the cusp of victory. In a map they were 4-1 up in and then lost a streak of rounds, but Rienz is pulling them, kicking and screaming back into this series.
Yeah, it's going to sound harsh, but when you have initiators putting up this many numbers, sometimes your duelist can have a bad game. Like, it really does. It's so ridiculous how talented these two Turkish players can be.
Get out of my way!
And let's say it's been needed. FPX have at no point looked out of this map. In fact, it looks like it was going to go dominantly in their favor at a stage, but a second they got onto this defense, it's been a round won by Ayang. And other than that, not a lot to write home about. Bladestorm in. Ayang also has the ult available, and Berlin's gone pushing. So is Autumn.
Yeah, they got all the control. They know it's an A-hit that's coming through. The thing is, Benji, oh, he doesn't react in time. The player on the side of his screen Autumn's picked him up, and now the flank comes underway, or the quicker rotation through the vents. Young able to grab one, and it's Lysor's double. At least giving them a chance in this with low HP, the decay fading, but Boo still on 54. They'll have a tough time in closing this one out. Still stars to play with. Has his grab well, and that is going to be the port of call to start this one off, buying him a little bit more time. A looky spam could even the odds. And indeed, they baited out immediately, aware that he's going to be trying something nasty like that. He needs to start spraying. He knows this could be being diffused, and they're waiting for just that. He's seen both. Now he knows it's not even half just yet. He's got a bit more time to play with 4 bullets, and not enough to take them down. The defuse will go across the line for FPX. They'll reach double digits, but they still need 2 more.
Yeah, I think he was incredibly wary of the flank initially just because those were the players that pushed mid to kill off Benji. So he was so worried about it, but just getting that little bit of information gave Boo a chance to fight. But with the low HP already on the board, wasn't to be. And again, a lot of this comes down to just the initiative. This was something that in a lot of the games we saw from FPX where they were successful on the defense, they had a lot of cool ideas, a lot of aggressive pushes, but I think with how Heretics have been playing around mid, they've been deterred. They haven't been able to get away with a lot on this portion of the map and had to go for something quite a bit later. 2 rounds the difference. 2 rounds is all they've had. But as we've seen, they're very good at streaking rounds together.
With these weaker weapons, I'm not expecting much. Woot, though, has the rifle and is able to grab himself at least the trade to start this one off. Moving towards the site, we'll see the plant come in from the wingman. Already mostly through. The spray's not quite landing, so they're able to fall back now. 2 rifles, 3. Well, make that 2 again. It's Boo and Benji Fishy holding the chances of this squad in their hands. They only have 2 chances to close this out, and this one, well, it's not quite their best opportunity with Boo tagged up, or well, decayed down by the Nightfall. The defuse already underway. Here comes the Shock Dart lineup, though. Grabwell already used to start this one off. Flank spotted as well. Lysor won't get a free kill, but with Boo falling, the numbers thin out. They've dealt with Flank, but they haven't dealt with the defuse, and the Hunter's Fury way too late. They'll get a tag, but that's all, and an ult expended for little to no impact.
Yeah, they might be able to hold on to their weapons and again make things a little bit more costly, but FPX are not going to mind. They managed to drag this back at the depths to look to try and take this to OT. And again, like for what was invested, not a bad round from Heretics, but just throwing in that ult at the end, thinking that, okay, maybe they've got it half, maybe they've got it close, but it was a lot further along than I think anybody over on the Heretic side had thought. Yeah, it was basically done. It was only if he was incredibly low HP that would have made a difference. 12 to 11. Still having a Thrash available. It's going to be something to play with, and definitely still wary of these aggressive pushes. For now, though, again, looking a lot more direct from the side of Heretics.
Well, it absolutely is. We saw Thrash put into the hand of Woot, and now sent out to find a victim. Drop. That was an interesting dash up top. Young in the perfect position to punish it. And now Benji, well, he's not going to get away with absolutely anything. They really want to fight for heaven for Vens, but they will get nothing. Heretics left down in the dirt. 12 to 12. We're going to overtime on map number 1. This was looking like Heretics had it in the bag, but a last-second resurgence from FPX keeps them in it.
I think it's been both teams now that I've expected it to go dominantly to FPX after an incredible first half. Then I was like, okay, well, this is done. And now it's gone to OT, but probably in one of the weirdest fashions I've ever seen. And the thing is, I don't think Ayung had been playing that position much. Like, we'd seen MiniBoo multiple times dash up there and have no contention whatsoever. This time, Ayung is waiting. 27 and 16, by the way. It is him and Rienz who are really running the show. The question is, who's going to be able to take it over the line? FPX, it seems like all the bells and whistles, all the fakes, all the ruses might go out the window here as all the players, all 5 in fact, are outside B.
Need that back.
Well, Heretics going for the same push-up on A, but seeing absolutely nothing this time. Going to be much quicker rotations going around, plugging the gap that's on middle, and mainly trying to support this B site. Unfortunately, they won't be there in time. Look who snuck into position, though. Boo It's not a normal spot to be playing from, and they're not even going to clear it. They're not even looking this way. That's the spike right in front of him. He's letting it get half planted just in case he can find another kill, and not quite, but he does the damage. Lysor on 8 HP, but the advantage sits with FPX, and it's Lysor that's going to go forward to plant this spike, I believe uncontested, unless there's a crazy shock dart. There actually was! Rienz fires it in and takes him down! And Autumn and Berlin, now another man sent in to plant this spike, a death sentence most of the time. I believe another, oh, it's a reveal, in fact, not a shock this time. It was sent through, and it's caught the information. They know where FPX are holding this from. Autumn needs a big play, and only the one to be found. Berlin, 1 versus 2. And they're all going to be diffusing in that narrow little alleyway. If there is a chance, the spray might just work out, but they're trying to bait him into a fight. He sees they're not diffusing. He'll buy this time just a little bit further. In fact, the clock here could prove to be the biggest enemy for the side of Heretics as they start this diffuse yet again. The swing is in, but the shots don't land. FPX punish this time, and it's Heretics to push to 13. Rienz with a phenomenal round. That shock dart was perfect.
They're going to be calling for agent bans. That's what they're going to be looking at. It's like, guys, I've had enough of map vetoes. I want agent vetoes just so I can get this man off a damn Sova. Bear in mind, last time they played this map, he wasn't playing Sova. He was playing Breach. So that's something they've brought in for the game today. And it has been disgustingly good. Whether it's reveals, as said, or shock darts. Okay, maybe a hit or miss with the Hunter's Fury, but I don't think they're going to mind too much. Well, you could understand the elation from Benji. They've got another opportunity. They've already had 3 of them to close out this map. And FPX, well, they got an extra pause. They're using it.
Now's not the time to let this one slip. With that a little bit of extra brain juice expended for Team Heretics, they've got to be feeling fantastic. I will just quickly note that Boo currently has an Odin. I don't think he's going to commit to that, but attack side, they might have post-plan setups with Rienz's reveals and Benji's traps on B side. It could be nasty.
So there is a, I think I showed you this when it came down to their B side hold.
Nest.
Yeah, he has a nest wallbang that he uses for a specific post-plan. So if he is pulling this in, I would be very surprised if they're not going B, because he has an exact post-plan for this.
You know, you showed me that, and I used it in my next rank game. And let me tell you, the things that were written in chat, I'm pretty sure some people got banned. But it's good fun, and I think pulling it out at a time like this will be unexpected for FPX as well. Like,
they haven't used it at all.
The only thing I'll say is that FPX have been tremendously cautious about trap wires. I saw it on the A site retake. I've seen it a couple of times where they're going into a site and they're looking everywhere to find those traps. If they make the mistake of not clearing them this time, they will be punished quite heavily.
But also, he just knows his lineup for the post plant. So if the traps might not even be an issue, really. It's just going to be if they can get into a post plant, which, hey, if you're running a Gecko, I feel like you should be able to do that, and they have been able to do that. Autumn already spotted. Boo already in position, ready with his lineups, just to try and be an absolute rat at the back of the site. And while this is maybe the scariest post plant the FPX are going to ever have to face into.
They might not even know what they're facing just yet. That's the scariest part. You see the stars down on the spike. The Gravwell to deny. Benji's been in this position quite a few times, more than a handful of times. But this time they're not checking it in time. Luckily, Lysor reacts, finds the kill. The defuse started, at least that's as far as Heretics know. Some kills come through, though. They reclaim the space. The Odin takes Lysor. The drop from Berlin is good. Able to at least find the one, and Rienz is incredibly low. Boo's caught up top. That's a big mistake. All he has to do now is root out Rienz and deal with Woot, but that's a big task halfway when Rienz swings in to close it out. 14-12. They push them to the limit, but Team Heretics take it across the line.
No, incredible performance from them in the end. It was a back and forth all the way through a map that we favored for FPX. A map that, as said, they looked incredibly good on, but ultimately the hero plays from the likes of Rienz, Woot were fantastic. Either way, still more to come. Bind up next after the break.
Light up the ring, I come like a solstice. It's like how many times can I say no games? Your favourite artist telling me Jay's cold, but still I won't say no names. So far ahead, left them in stone age. I am the king, this is my domain. Spit so much things like I breathe propane. I take that served up like a hostess. Everything that we do is real, no hocus pocus. We're not the same, but you already know this. Been around for a while, but I still bring heat like a solstice. I'm about so they better take notice. Blur out the faces, I gotta stay focused. They want me to fall off, that's why I keep it loaded. Light up the ring, I come like a solstice. I'm about so they better take notice. Blur out the faces, I gotta stay focused. They want me to fall off, that's why I keep it loaded. Light up the ring, I come like a solstice.